First of all, again, the real purpose of life is improving the world. It's an overarching responsibility. Then the question is, what does that mean? And how does one do that? And does one have to be President of the United States or President of one's congregation to be able to contribute, to be creative? And the answer is no. We can be creative in any way we want, on any level we want. Every time we help another human being, we're making a difference in people's lives. And for me, the quintessential midrash, if I had to pick one midrash that expresses this Jewish journey, it's about an individual many Jews never knew, were never told about, never were exposed to. It's a Jew named Nachshon ben Aminadav, Nachshon, the son of Aminadav, Nachshon, a prince of the tribe of Judah, who, according to the rabbis, was the one Israelite who at the Red Sea, as the Red Sea stood before the Israelites, by the way, looking like the Atlantic Ocean. It wasn't a river, it wasn't a stream, it was an ocean. And there the Israelites stood at the banks of the Red Sea, and behind them, the entire Egyptian army stood poised to come down and annihilate them at the Red Sea. And the Israelites turned to Moses and said, what? There weren't graves in Egypt? You had to bring us to the Red Sea to die? Do something. Save us, Moses. And in the Midrash, Moses turns to God and said, they're right. God, save us. Make a miracle. Save us. And the Egyptians started to descend upon the Israelites. And the Israelites screamed louder and louder to Moses, save us, save us. And Moses screamed louder and louder to God, save us, save us. And in the Midrash, nothing happens. Nothing happens. The Egyptians draw closer. The Red Sea, looking like the Atlantic Ocean, rages even greater. And nothing happens. And then, at the, quote, last moment, one lone Israelite, Nachshon, the son of Aminadav, plunges forward, moves forward. And there are various forms of the Midrash. One, he leaps in. Another, he walks in up to his nose. Whatever it is, he moves forward. Nachshon moves forward. And the Midrash says, as Nachshon enters the water, the sea splits. And the Israelites are able to walk on dry land through the Red Sea and ultimately are saved from the Egyptian army, which then drowns in the Red Sea. And for me, this is the quintessential Jewish message. Jews do not stand or sit or wail on the banks of their personal Red Seas waiting for God to make a miracle. They plunge forward, and with their own creativity and their own purpose and their own courage, people make miracles. And the question is raised, who really was responsible for the miracle of the Red Sea? Was it God or Nachshon? And the rabbinic answer is both. It was Nachshon's faith in himself, in life, in whatever God he related to, that gave him the ability to move forward. But it was Nachshon who moved forward. And the rabbis build this midrash based on a verse in the Torah, where in the Torah, Moses says to God, save us, save us. Actually, God says to the Israelites, wait here, I'll talk to God. The next verse in the book of Exodus is God speaking to Moses saying, why do you cry unto me? Tell the children to move forward. Tell the children to move forward. Let them go forward. And Nachshon does. And then the rabbis have to deal with the fact that God tells Moses in the text to stretch forth his rod, which most people believe is the moment that the Red Sea split. The rabbis say, no, 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 no. The reason Moses was told by God to stretch forth his rod was because not only did Nachshon have the courage to jump into the sea, Nachshon didn't know how to swim. And after he split the sea, as the sea was splitting, Moses was to stretch forth his rod to save Nachshon, to give Nachshon something to grab a hold of. Nachshon had such courage and such creative force that Nachshon was willing to plunge into the Red Sea even though he did not know how to swim. And that becomes the Jewish metaphor for life. And the Israelis understand it. But most American Jews never heard of Nachshon. The Israelis understood it. When, in the War of Independence, the Arabs encircled Jerusalem and prevented arms and food and medical supplies from coming to Jerusalem, it was Operation Nachshon which broke the Arab blockade. And when the Israeli Air Force had to fly what seemed like a universe away to save Jews who had gone through another selexia and now were kept on an Entebbe airstrip, the operation to save them, which most people think is called Thunderbolt, from Israel's perspective was called Operation Nachshon. When a miracle is needed, human beings, in response to God, move forward. And to the rabbis, if one wants to see where God has been, the rabbis always say, look at the footprints of man. Where righteous people have walked, that's where God has been and miracles have been made.